Right now, Salesforce and San Francisco has come to an agreement that they will be keeping the Dreamforce event in the city in 2024, which I really do find shocking. Not really sure what's going on, but maybe like the cleanup in the APEC event really convinced Salesforce that maybe, when the event starts or when it's right around the corner, San Francisco might be cleaning things up. So the decision came after the company's CEO suggests that the conference might have to leave and go somewhere else. One of the most popular locations that people were guessing were like Las Vegas or Miami. And pretty much he says that the conditions of Dreamforce, it's okay, but the city really just cleans up for the event and then like it just goes back the way it was. San Francisco never really cleans up for like a forever. It just seems like they just keep slapping on band-aids and only give like temporary problem solving. That's really about it. So Salesforce is pretty mad about the situation, and they're by far like the biggest employer of San Francisco in the tech field. And if you look at Salesforce, they're in the Salesforce Tower, right? They got the whole name on it. And they also own a few buildings around the area. Salesforce is very iconic. When you think of Salesforce Tower, you think of the company and you think of San Francisco. They are the most iconic company in this location. They employ thousands of people in the city, and they also host the biggest AI events in the world with a lot of international people come to these events. And one of the biggest things about Dreamforce is when it was in San Francisco this year, the amount of people that attended was only like 1/4 of the normal amount. Like in the previous years, Dreamforce got like 15,000 people, right? 17,000 people, like a lot of people. Now it's only getting like a few thousand people. I think a lot of people just don't want to come to San Francisco, even though AI is becoming bigger than ever before. We're seeing a lot of companies just simply hosting their events elsewhere. Las Vegas, we all know this place. It's famous for gambling, but did you know that it's hosting some of the biggest and most popular tech events in the world? You probably didn't know that, right? Because IBM is also trying to move their event here, and I heard Meta is trying to host their next event here, and maybe even Google. Because those three companies have already canceled a lot of tech events in San Francisco due to like the enormous amount of crime and also homelessness. And it's not a joke. Even with APEC, there's still a lot of crazy shenanigans here and there. But with these like tech events, they have a lot of international tourism, right? They have a lot of people outside the country that's coming to San Francisco. And many of them get like their cars broken in, their rental cars stolen, their camera equipment stolen. So you kind of get the idea that a lot of these companies just don't want to stay here. But they also don't really complain about it. I think the only person who really talked about it was Salesforce and the CEO. Many other companies just leave quietly and just go to Vegas or Miami and just host their event there. And I'm kind of shocked that Salesforce is willing to host their next event in San Francisco. Not really sure why, but one of the biggest things is you also know that maybe 2024 could be the last year. And this isn't set in stone either. We could be seeing things changing. And of course, if the homeless situation gets even worse in San Francisco, I'm pretty sure the dude will probably move Dreamforce out of San Francisco. Nothing is set in stone. And he doesn't really like San Francisco that much either. But let's see what's going on. Salesforce is also pulling a lot of stuff from San Francisco. Not only did previously the CEO threaten to pull the conference from San Francisco over homelessness and drug use, but you also have San Francisco already vacating several iconic towers next to the Salesforce building. These are enormous towers with a lot of office space. They employ a lot of employees, and they essentially just ditched the remaining office at 350 Mission Street, listing over 100,000 square feet for sublease, which nobody really wants it at all. And it's the largest private employer, and Salesforce is already moving several of its employees online. You already got like the Nancy Pelosi federal building in San Francisco already telling their employees just to work from home remotely due to like the terrible street conditions. And if you also look at the amount of people commuting to San Francisco every single day, it's at an all-time low, right? There used to be like 150,000 office employees coming to San Francisco on the daily just to commute. The BART was always stuffed with people. Traffic was everywhere. There's people crammed like sardines in downtown. Now downtown is super empty with virtually no workers here. It's actually pretty sad if you look at the before and after pics of the pandemic. And it's not just Schwab, okay? And it's not just Salesforce, and it's not just Adobe dumping their space. Even McDonald's is closing down in San Francisco. Even Starbucks is closing down. Target's closing down due to rampant crime. The Lucky Supermarket's closing down. Like, this is a city in a true doom loop if you ever see it. People say how bad, LA is, Seattle is, Manhattan is, but hey, San Francisco's on a whole different level at this point. Now, one of the craziest cutting backs is going to be the Charles Schwab headquarters in San Francisco. This is an enormous headquarters, and this is actually in a very, very good location. And this is where it is, right? It's Main Street, Spear Street. It's right next to like the water. This is like high-end AAA type of office building. And Schwab is already downgrading most of their space. In fact, they're reducing a lot of their space around the country, but nothing is more significant than this massive building. They're kind of like their Western HQ kind of. 17 stories, which have cut down to only 6 stories, with most of the employees either getting fired or moving online. We're also seeing a possible recession due to the fact that unemployment is already ticking up. Did you know that unemployment was 3.3 a few months ago, and now unemployment is 3.9? People are saying that probably will be like 4.4 or 4.5 by the end of this year. So you get the idea. Unemployment is rising, and what's even worse is a lot of the jobs getting cut are actually very high-paying jobs, like, for example, working for Charles Schwab. So many of these six-figure jobs are now being cut. Even Salesforce is laying off massive amounts of people. Adobe, Meta, Google, you name it. Like, every single company is doing it. And recently, just today, Citibank actually laid off like hundreds of employees as well for like restructuring purposes. We all know what's going on. Companies are seeing weaker quarters and less money coming in, so they're cutting back on workers. And San Francisco needs office workers, guys. Office is probably one of the most important things for the city. And you also have remote work, plus people are laying off workers. That is just like a combination that San Francisco cannot take. Look at this. Tech workers, are being laid off. Tech layoffs exceed 240,000 jobs so far in 2023, and it will continue, which is causing massive stress on the San Francisco housing market. Redfin report back a few months ago said San Francisco home sellers are 4 times more likely to sell at a loss. This is crazy. In fact, I think it's more than 4 times, right? It's down 11% over the past year and 13% from its peak, but let's be real, it's way more than that when you look at the current transactions. Look at some of the transactions for November 2023. It's actually shocking to see offices at really nice districts like the Charles Schwab building selling for 50% off. Those are some really crazy deals you can't get anywhere else, right? Look at this building here. Like, such a good looking building next to the Salesforce Tower. It's probably going to be selling for pennies for $1. And a lot of these buildings for rent are very, very cheap. Like, we're looking at $30, $40, $50 per square feet per year when it used to be like 3 times that amount. So tech layoffs, plus people working on remotes, plus people cutting down on offices. San Francisco is just not in a great spot. And let's see what happens with the relationship of Salesforce and San Francisco. Salesforce is also laying off employees by like the hundreds. This is some really crazy stuff, a lot of scary stuff as well. Let's see what happens. San Francisco already showed people that it can be a good city when there's like a big event like APEC. But I don't know, man. Like the homeless situation is crazy. Like, they just keep putting on band-aids. I think what San Francisco really needs is like some insanely big changes, or else they just can't take the heat anymore. And there's a lot of competition from other cities to snag their talent.